again, welcome back to the shed. So I made a tail tidy for the CB1000R in work. It was actually a prototype to begin with, because I made it from thinner gauge sheet steel. If anyone else has got a obviously got one of these bikes, then you might want to have a look at what I've done and maybe have a go at making one. It's a fairly straightforward, simple design, but it works really well. So I thought I'd do a little sketch just to show you, give you the dimensions and see if you want to have a go at making one. But it's good because it doesn't move the lights, so it actually attaches into the light here using a slightly longer bolt, which I'll show you when I draw it, when I sketch it up. So I don't know whether you can see that, but it's formed round, so it uses the same, as I say, slightly longer bolt, but it's formed round, so the bolt goes straight through and into the indicator. And then this curve, this part here, this rad, just follows the light. It's not really good light at all, that is it, but whether you can see. And then obviously it's just on an angle. I need to cut them off, but so looking at it from underneath, you can see how that just forms round. As I said, it's very straightforward design. I need to cut them off. Very straightforward design. The angle might not be to everybody's liking, but you know, I like it on that angle. It looks quite cool. So this part here, I tried to match that to the curve of the light. So it is a prototype because I want to make it from thicker gauge plate, but you get the idea. It's really simple. I just like it because the lights can stay where they are. They don't have to move down. I used R&G tail tidies in the past, nothing against them at all, they're fantastic, but I wanted to have a go at making one. I just thought I'll try and keep the lights where they are. Obviously I've sprayed it. I don't like the gloss, to be fair. Next one will be more of a matte finish, but you know, it shows off the back tyre really well. But it was just to see how we get on. It doesn't move around too much. It's fairly sturdy as well, and quite firm, and it's not actually overly tight in here. As I said, I've used slightly longer bolts because there's a bit of a recess in the back of here, but I'll show you that on the drawing. I'll just do a quick sketch up. If anyone wants to have a go at making one, I don't know, looks pretty cool. Save spending 80 quid on a R&G tail tidy, but yeah, I'm happy with it. Have a look, see what you think. You know, it's pretty neat. It does the job. You can change the angle if you're not obviously happy with that. I think that's probably like a 35 to 40 degree angle. I didn't measure it because, as I said, it was just a prototype to bring home and have a look and see how it fit. I'll make the next one from slightly thicker gauge, but yeah, there we go. I'll do a little sketch, and if anyone wants to have a go at making one, save yourself a few quid. CB1000R custom tail tidy, sheet steel, metal former, metal bender, and a bit of paint. Happy days. Right, so all dimensions in millimeters. That's 70, and then we've got about here. We've got bend line, and we've got bend line there. So these dimensions, we've got 20 in here and 30 in there. What's the hole diameter? Didn't measure the hole diameter, but the distance. So we've got the holes, obviously, each end. Those are, get in the middle. I'm drawing it in the middle, but the pen is flicking it off to the side. Dimension 7. No, what's the... This is 30mm. Holes are 7, that's 70. And then we've got a width of 120. And you don't have to match these. These are just, this is the prototype that I made. Which actually, as I say, it works quite well. Now, I've drawn that wrong because there's a bend line there. Not to scale. I keep saying that because there's a bend line there. So those are the dimensions, not to scale, but those are the dimensions of the one that I've made as a prototype. I think it's about 0.7mm gauge, and that's steel plate. I think it's stainless, actually, stainless steel. So I actually think it might even be thinner than that, but as I say, it was a prototype, so I am going to make a thicker one from slightly thicker gauge. Even though I'm happy with that one, it doesn't move around, it's fine. I'm going to make it from a slightly thicker. But so that's what I used. Right now, so let's clear that page. Make sure you've got all of that. Okay, so that is pretty much it. We've got the holes there. Okay, so it's not to scale this because that bend line comes into the corner, so that radius is clearly drawn wrong. But you get the idea. So now the angle, that's the thing. That angle there. Now on mine, that angle there is, and I say about because I didn't measure it. I just bent it and thought that looks about right and put it on the bike because I know what angle I like the number plate to be on. And obviously everybody's different, but that angle there, I didn't measure it. But I'm going to say I didn't measure it when I made it because I know roughly the angle. I know that I like my plate to be on, but I'm going to say mine's as much as 40 degrees. Which it is slightly too much. I think 30. I think reducing it down to sort of that sort of angle would be better. But it's entirely up to you. You know, I think mine's about 40. Yeah, I think it is. So those are the dimensions. And now the problem you have got, what I did say is you've got, so where you've got your Allen key bolt here, right? I've had to put longer ones in there because if you're looking at this from above, so let's say it's there and the hole's through there, okay? Right, so we're looking at this part here from above. On the bike itself, the moulding, so say you've got the indicators here coming off there. The moulding here, it curves in like that. Curves in like that slightly on the bike. So because you've got that, you've now got that additional distance to deal with because I've just put a plate because your bolt's going to go through there, and because we've just put a plate up against it, we're losing effectively that much distance off the bolt. So what I had to do was, actually I did put a washer in. Well, it wasn't a washer because it wasn't a flat. I suppose it is a washer, but it was like that. So I put a, I suppose like a small washer tube plastic thing. I don't know. I had it in the drawer, and so I put that in as a little spacer. And the reason I did that is because I used thin gauge plate here. It was just to stop it flexing a little bit. That's all. But you know, all I've done is put, and I think they were M6. I think they're M6. I think they're M6. So I've just put slightly longer bolts in, just so that we get the distance then to be able to obviously thread inside the indicator. But other than that, you know, I don't know if you need to put them in. I think if you use thicker gauge, plate, it wouldn't, and I don't suppose it'd bend anyway, really, over that much of a, you know, you've got your plate there from above, and then you've got this sort of thing going on. So you'd have to put a hell of a force, clamping force, you know, on that to bend that, I would say. But anyway, it is what it is. I put a little spacer in just to, because I'm fussy. So that's it. So the dimensions I give you before, and then obviously your number plate holes that's down to you. You know, obviously I put my plate on and made sure the holes would go in the right place according to the black and the yellow number plate screws that I had. So there we go. That's my tail tidy for the CB1000R. I mean, as I say, the R&G ones are about 80 quid, I think. I mean, that little bit of plate, you know, it's neither here nor there. It literally takes half an hour to bend it. And then obviously just cut that out bit and then use a half round file. So cut that out with some tin snips. So obviously this part, the only thing is, I don't know what radius that is, and I could measure it, but I don't want to take it off the bike. But and the reason I can't tell you is because I just used an aluminium billet that I had lying around in the workshop, and I just placed it on top of there on my sheet and just drew around it. So I don't really know. I'm not in work, so I can't measure the diameter of the aluminium billet I used there. But I'm sure you can find something to draw around. Then with that, it was just, you know, mark it out, scribe it out with some blue. Tin snips then, as near to that line as I could. And then a half round file. And just take your time. And that is it. It doesn't take long. It's worth it, I feel. What I was worried about actually was movement here. Sort of rotation around this point by putting pressure on here, you know, and vibrations and that sort of thing. I was worried about sort of movement, you know, around this pivot point. And actually, it doesn't move. And you nip it up fairly tight, not overly tight, obviously, but you know, nip that up, and you know, I'm quite comfortable. I can wiggle that. You know, no vibration of the bike is gonna cause rotation there anyway. And I have to say, it is actually quite firm. So yeah, it works well. So there we go, custom tail tidy for the CBR. Give it a go or not. But if anything, it'll save you a bit of money, and if you've got the materials lying around, then why not? Anyway, oh, one last thing. I did shape those, and the reason that I put a radius on these here, sorry, it's a rubbish drawing, obviously it was shaped more like that, and the reason I put a radius on those is because part there, that corner, it could scratch the plastic, you know, the plastic mouldings that hold the lights on. I was just being uber fussy with that and just thinking, well, I'll put a little rad on those ends just to tidy it up, and stop it scratching anything, and as it happens, it worked really well. So there you go, custom tail tidy, CB1000R. Give it a go, and if you do make one, let me know, because I'd love to see it. Cheers for watching. Thanks all. Bye.